Rich woman disrespects cleaner girl, but a hidden witness reveals an incredible transformation. The annual community gala was buzzing with the glimmer of wealth, laughter, and the clinking of champagne glasses. Claire, a striking figure at 38 years old, floated through the crowd in her designer gown, radiant with confidence. She relished the status her high-powered career brought her, flaunting her affluence. But as she sipped her drink and exchanged pleasantries with other elite guests, Claire scoffed at the women who wiped down tables and shuffled about with cleaning equipment. To her they were the help barely worth a glance. But oh, tonight would change everything. Across the room, a 27-year-old cleaner named Mia was hustling to right a spilled drink on the newly polished marble floor, her heart heavy with worry. She was juggling a full-time job while caring for her ailing veteran father, working tirelessly just to make ends meet. As she bent down to clean, her eyes caught the glimmer of Claire's stilettos approaching. "Be careful!" Claire snapped, her voice dripping with disdain. "That marble doesn't clean itself, you know." Mia's heart sank, her chest tightening under the weight of Claire's derision, a feeling she knew all too well. With each word, the memories of past encounters washed over her like waves of shame, interactions where she felt less than human. Unbeknownst to them, Mr. Thompson, the wise 70-year-old retired teacher who lived next door, observed this painful exchange. A sentimental ache tugged at his heart. This was not the respectful community he cherished. He remembered the days when honesty and hard work were valued above all else. He admired Mia's quiet resilience, a stark contrast to Claire's haughty attitude. As Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, a plan began to form. He knew he had to speak up. During the gala, he stepped onto the stage, and as the crowd hushed, he recounted his own journey, how he had survived the Great Recession, how he understood the crunch of life under financial strain, and the importance of hard, honest work over wealth. "True value lies not in your bank account, but in how you treat others." His voice reverberated through the crowd, and Claire felt an uncomfortable flutter of guilt settling in her stomach. Emboldened by Mr. Thompson's words, Mia found the courage to speak. As she stepped forward, her voice trembled but grew stronger. "I balance work and care for my father. Every day is a challenge, but it's one I embrace with love." Gasps and murmurs swept through the room, as the community felt the weight of her words. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Mia poured out her heart, Claire stood frozen, every moment of her condescension replaying in her mind like a haunting echo. Yet just when it felt like hope sparked between Mia and Claire, a sudden ruckus arose from the back, a confrontation that exposed deeper divisions in their community. As the tension hung thick in the air, Claire faced an agonizing decision on whether to confront her previous judgments, or let old prejudices reassert themselves. Would she break free from the chains of her past, or would social barriers snuff out the human connection yearning to ignite? The atmosphere crackled with uncertainty, leaving the audience breathlessly wondering what would happen next. The chaos erupted when a well-known philanthropist, Mrs. Jenkins, suddenly stood up from her table, her eyes blazing with anger. "This community has become so divided," she shouted, drawing everyone's attention. "We sit here, sipping our drinks while the real work is done by those we ignore." The room fell silent, every gaze shifting from Claire's tense expression to the outraged woman. Mrs. Jenkins's passionate voice resonated deep within Claire. The judgment she had cast while dismissing Mia's struggle began to unravel before her eyes. It was as if the walls she built around herself were cracking, and for the first time, she felt the weight of her arrogance. Mia, still standing at the forefront, caught Claire's eye. There was something in the way Mia looked back, fierce yet vulnerable, that sparked a flicker of realization in Claire. It wasn't just about the spilled drink, or the marble floor. It was about dignity, respect, and their shared humanity. But as the tension escalated, so did Claire's internal conflict. Just then, Mr. Thompson joined the fray, his voice steady and clear. "We all have journeys and stories," he said, looking at both women. "Tonight let us reflect on what binds us rather than what separates us. Mia has strength, and Claire has power together. Imagine what they could achieve." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Claire felt their eyes on her now, mixed with anticipation and judgment. The realization hit her people were watching her, waiting for her to choose a path forward. Could she confront her past mistakes and begin anew? "Maybe I've taken my position for granted," Claire said suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper but powerful enough to draw everyone's attention. "I've lost sight of what really matters." A wave of surprise washed over the guests. Claire took a breath, forcing herself to continue. "Mia, I am sorry for what I said. I didn't see you for who you truly are." Gasps filled the room. Mia's heart raced. Could this really be happening? Claire's vulnerability was shocking. Before she could respond, Claire raised her glass. "Let us raise our glasses not just to wealth, but to compassion and understanding. Let us build a community where we support one another no matter our struggles." Cheers erupted, yet Claire could feel a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. What if this was just a fleeting moment? Would she truly change? Mia, with tears shimmering in her eyes, finally found her voice amidst the cheers. "Thank you, Claire. It means the world to me." The sincerity in her tone dissolved some of Claire's lingering guilt. She felt a sense of hope, a fragile connection slowly weaving between them. But doubt lingered. Could they truly transform the tides of their lives and their community? Just as they took a step toward reconciliation, the lights flickered overhead. The crowd hushed as an unexpected guest entered the gala, someone whose presence hinted at secrets long buried, and they were about to shake up the fragile peace both women were trying to foster. What revelations would this stranger bring, and how would it affect the fragile bond between Claire and Mia? The doors swung open wider, revealing a figure silhouetted against the gala's warm glow. The crowd parted as this unexpected guest stepped inside, confidently making their way toward the center of the room. Whispers filled the air, a mixture of curiosity and unease. Claire squinted, recognition dawning. "Is that?" A name danced on the tip of her tongue, but she didn't dare say it out loud. The stranger moved closer, shedding shadows and doubts. The elegant red dress swayed with each step, highlighting every curve, every imperfection beautifully human in its authenticity. "Mia, do you know her?" Claire asked, the questions swirling nervously between them. Mia's eyes widened, her breath hitching. That's Jenna." A history she thought was sealed rushed back like an old tide. Jenna was the college friend Mia never saw coming back to town, a connection that felt both comforting and contentious. As Jenna reached the podium, she raised her hand, silencing the buzz. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady yet warm. "I think it's time to talk about something we often avoid, even here, in this moment of supposed unity." The room tightened in anticipation. Jenna's presence was magnetic, a force that could either break this fragile peace or bind them closer together. Claire's heart raced. She could sense Mia's tension, the way the air shifted between them. What did Jenna know? "Claire, Mia," Jenna said, her gaze landing on each of them. "I was here just a moment ago, when everything exploded. Claire, your words were moving. But the truth is, the real cause of our division is more than miscommunication. It runs much deeper." It was a revelation that hung in the air, thick and heavy. Claire felt her grip on the glass tighten, her fingers going cold. The crowd's eyes shifted back and forth, gauging the tension. "Mia represents a part of our community that's often ignored," Jenna continued. "And here's something you both don't know. When I left town to pursue my dreams, I spent years struggling in the shadows, mental health issues, poverty, you name it. I was the invisible one." Gasps echoed through the hall. Claire's throat felt tight. She had no idea. Mia's expression paled. She was processing a truth that didn't just apply to her story but expanded to encompass their entire community. "But you made it out, didn't you?" Mia said softly, her voice wavering yet filled with empathy. Jenna nodded, refusing to leave her vulnerability unguarded. Because people reached out to me when I thought I was alone. They showed me I mattered. It's time all of us recognize that, together. Her gaze moved between Claire and Mia, a challenge sparking behind her sharp eyes. What are we doing here tonight? Jenna questioned, raising a hand toward the crowd. Celebrating wealth, or celebrating each other? In that moment, Claire felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The knot in her stomach twisted tighter, yet a flicker of hope ignited. She turned to Mia, who wore a mix of confusion and hope, both eager and afraid of what this meant for them. Jenna was unveiling something powerful, something that could tear down walls or build bridges. Could they, together, navigate the storm this unexpected revelation might stir? And what else needed to be unearthed to truly heal their community? Before answers came, tension mounted. What would Jenna do next? How would Claire respond? The air crackled with potential as they stood on the brink of transformation, life hanging in the delicate balance of possibility. Jenna's words hung in the air, a delicate balance that everyone felt but few dared to voice. The crowd shifted, uneasily adjusting their stances as if they were all suddenly part of something bigger than themselves. Claire could sense that tension tight, like a drum, ready to burst wide open. Are you sure this is the place for this conversation? Claire finally managed, her voice shaky yet pushing through the crowd's silence. Yes, Jenna said firmly, crossing her arms, the red fabric of her dress whispering with her movements. It's the only place we can start rebuilding. It's where the facade cracks. Mia stepped forward, tears brimming in her eyes. But Jenna, you're saying all this and we're just here. It's not that simple. Of course it isn't, Jenna replied, her voice softening, shaking off the tension with grace. But pretending everything's fine is what has isolated us. It's time for stories to be shared, for faces to be seen and for that connection to be restored. The murmurs from the crowd transformed into voices, each one questioning their own realities. Claire watched the expressions flicker among the guests, those caught between their comfortable lives and the stark truth of their shared histories. What do you think your return will do? Stir up old stories and rivalries? Someone from the back shouted, bitterness seeping through their words. Jenna turned to face that voice, unflinching. If it means I can stop someone else from suffering in silence, then yes. I'll gladly be the one to stir things up. We can navigate that rivalry together if we choose, but it starts with acknowledgement. Claire looked to Mia, whose expression was a mix of sorrow and strength. They knew Jenna had a point, but the path forward was fraught with peril. What do you want from us, Jenna? Claire blurted out, her heart racing as she felt her own fears unraveling. She wasn't just asking for herself but for everyone in that room. Jenna stepped down from the podium, closing the distance between them. I want you to listen. To truly listen to everyone in this room, even the ones we often forget. To take our shared pain and work toward healing. Her intensity faltered for just a moment, vulnerability cutting through. I want a chance for forgiveness. For all of us. The silence stretched as Claire absorbed those words. Her heart swelled. There was something profound in the way Jenna laid bare her truth. It echoed through her own experiences, lost friendships, misunderstandings, and the creeping shadows of failures that sometimes felt too heavy to bear. Mia nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks, but this time they felt like liberation. I've fought this battle alone for far too long, she whispered, reaching out for Jenna. Maybe it's time we all shared the load. The room felt charged now, emotions surging like an electric current. Claire felt compelled to join in. Then let us share smiles, laughter, and stories. Let us rebuild. But it will take all of us. A ripple of agreement spread through the crowd, a quiet murmur of yes as people began to feel the weight of a shared burden shift. But just as hope began to fill the space, there was a sudden shout from the back. What about those who want to change? Who don't want to? Are we just supposed to forget? The challenge hung there like a dark cloud, cold against the flickering warmth rising among them. Claire's heart sank again. Was everyone truly ready to embrace this? As the crowd surged with conflicting emotions, Jenna turned slowly toward Claire and Mia. Maybe it's not about forgetting but about learning. Perhaps it starts with one voice willing to risk it all. Will you be that voice? Deep breath. Claire's determination surged. This was the moment to decide. Would she step forward into the uncertainty, or hold back in the familiarity of worry? The pulsating energy of the room pressed heavily down as she faced the question. Would she embrace this journey of change? As they stood on that precipice of transformation, Claire's eyes flicked between Mia's hopeful gaze and Jenna's fierce resolve. What was the next step they could take together? And would they find the strength to challenge the daunting past waiting to entangle them all? Claire's heart raced, the weight of the moment crashing down on her like waves against the shore. She glanced at the people around her, their faces unreadable, caught in an intricate dance between fear and hope. Could she really be the voice of change? Jenna, she began, her voice steadying with each word, I want to help. But what does that truly look like? How do we even start? Jenna's eyes sparkled with a mix of gratitude and purpose. It starts with understanding. Sharing our stories, no matter how painful. She looked over the crowd, her voice rising. If we can be vulnerable together, we can begin to heal. Share stories? The bitterness from before chimed in again, a tall man with a scowl stepping forward. You think that's enough? You think talking about it will magically fix everything? This isn't magic, Jenna responded, her tone calm but firm. It's a process. We've all been hurt. But by sharing our pain, we can foster connection and respect, something that has been missing for far too long. Mia sniffed, wiping away the tears that had gathered on her cheeks. I lost my brother to this silence, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I wish I had known how to reach out, how to ask for help. A murmur swept through the crowd, the atmosphere shifting slightly as Mia's brave act of sharing peeled back some layers of discomfort. Claire felt a courage rising within herself, fueled by the vulnerability displayed around her. Every story matters, Claire said, stepping forward with a newfound firmness. We need to hear each other, every part of our experiences, even the ugly bits. But what if no one wants to listen? The scowling man challenged again, crossing his arms defiantly. Then we'll fight to find someone who does, Claire replied, a fire igniting in her voice. Because we owe it to ourselves to speak our truths. We can't carry these burdens alone anymore. I agree, Mia said, her tears now more like beams of light breaking through the clouds billowing overhead. If talking is hard, let us support each other through it. No more hiding. The room pulsed again with shifting emotions, a hesitant spark of unity. Claire could feel the connection growing, slowly but steadily knitting the crowd together. Jenna looked at them all, her gaze sweeping over faces marked by years of struggle. It's not just about sharing and healing. It's about rebuilding bridges. Trust isn't just given, it's earned through honesty and respect. Claire drew in a deep breath, building the courage that had long evaded her. Let us start with one small step. Let us share something we regret. Something we think could have been different if only we had chosen wisely. A low rumble of uneasy laughter spread through the group. Claire's chest tightened, fear gripping her. What if they laughed at her? Dismissed her? But a woman stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. I lost my job because I was too afraid to ask for help when I needed it the most. I thought I could do it all alone. She looked around, tears shimmering in her eyes. But I learned I can't do this without people, without support. Claire smiled at her courage, a warm wave of gratitude washing over her. By sharing, that woman sparked a tiny flame of hope, one that could grow into a fire of transformation if they all embraced it. As more people began to open up, Jenna watched, her expression a mixture of joy and fierce determination. But Claire couldn't shake the feeling that they were just at the beginning. Your stories are powerful, Jenna said, her eyes flickering with emotion. But we need to be brave enough to face the pushback. There will always be those who resist change, who see the past as a shield against the future. At that moment, the man who had questioned them earlier scoffed, crossing his arms in defiance again. You think this changes anything? Some heartfelt stories? I've seen people pretend to change, only to go back to their old ways. The air crackled with tension as a hush fell over the group. Claire's expression turned serious, Her heart beat loud in her ears. Maybe this isn't about convincing everyone, she whispered. Maybe it's about showing that change is possible for those willing to take the leap. It's about paving the way for the future we want, even if it is slow. As murmurs of agreement filled the room, Claire felt something shifting deep inside her. That fear of confrontation was fading, replaced by a lightness of spirit. But just then, the doors swung open abruptly, and a figure entered, someone none of them expected to see. The air changed immediately, thick with surprise and unspoken questions. Who was this newcomer, and how would they impact this budding transformation? The figure stepped into the room, and Claire's heart sank. It was Rebecca, the woman from the social club, a known philanthropist who rarely ventured outside her polished circles. Her presence was a jarring contrast to the vulnerable, ragged souls in the room. The air turned electric with surprise and a mixture of fear and anticipation. Claire felt the atmosphere shift, almost suffocating. Everyone turned to witness this unexpected intrusion. Rebecca's perfectly manicured nails and high-end clothes stood out sharply against the backdrop of openness and rawness their group was trying to cultivate. "What are you doing here?" The scowling man, whose name Claire still didn't know, finally broke the tension, arms still crossed defiantly. "Don't worry, I'm not here to cause trouble," Rebecca said, her voice smooth, but with an edge that made Claire bristle. "I'm actually here to see about helping if necessary." Murmurs fluttered through the crowd. Was she serious? Claire watched as Jenna's expression shifted from delight to skepticism. "Help? You want to help?" Jenna challenged, crossing her arms, mirroring the other man's stance. "We're not looking for handouts. We're trying to build something real here." "I'm aware," Rebecca replied with an icy calm. "But I wouldn't turn down the chance to bring in resources that could benefit your project." Claire felt her cheeks flush with heat. How could someone so privileged step into their space with such detachment? "We don't need resources without understanding our struggles," Claire shot back, her voice lifting in defiance. "We want to be heard. If you want to help, listen to our stories." Rebecca's brows lifted slightly, surprised at the backlash. "I've built foundations and funded projects all over the city. I know plenty about helping." "Do you?" Mia's voice pierced through the tension, her eyes holding a quiet power. "Do you truly know about the struggles? The pain of feeling invisible? The fear that comes with vulnerability? It's not about money for us. It's about connection." Rebecca opened her mouth to speak, but Claire's heart raced as she saw a flicker of something deeper behind the polished facade. "Maybe we can show you," Claire proposed tentatively, inspiration rising within her. "Maybe we could use your voice if you really want to help." As Claire spoke, the room grew quiet again, every eye trained on Rebecca. She held a position of unequal power in the conversation, but the determination of the group daunted her. For the first time, there was doubt etched on her face. "Fine," the woman finally replied, softer now. "I'll listen. But I want something in return, a chance to speak at your next meeting." "What?" Claire said, taken aback. "You want to use our struggle as a platform?" "No. Not like that." Rebecca scowled, clearly getting flustered. "No, I want to use my voice to highlight the issues at hand, to gain more support, real support." "That's what you want, isn't it? No one else seems invested in this." Silence engulfed the room again, this time heavy with contemplation. Claire looked at Jenna, both of them weighing the magnitude of Rebecca's offer. In the world they had been thrust into, could they really afford to refuse help, even if it came wrapped in complex packaging? "This isn't just a project for us," Claire finally said, breaking the silence. "It's a lifeline." Rebecca nodded slowly. "Then let me in. Show me what this truly means." The room filled with conflicting emotions as Claire spoke. Hope mingled with hesitation, and Claire could almost hear their collective thoughts. Were they really willing to trust someone who had always been on the outside looking in? As conversations sparked around the room, Claire felt a surge of determination. They weren't just sharing stories anymore. They were now on the brink of a new chapter, one that could propel them into the light, or plunge them back into darkness depending on the choices they made. Just then, The man who had scowled before stepped forward again, his gaze piercing. But what happens if this goes wrong? What if letting her in fails us? The gathering held its breath, waiting for an answer, because deep down, they all knew something important was at stake, and Claire was about to make a choice that would define their path forward. Would that new path lead them to liberation or deeper pitfall? Claire felt the weight of silence press down around her, like a heavy fog. She could hear the whisper of fears echoing in the room, the thought of trusting someone who had always moved through life surrounded by privilege. Would Rebecca's presence bring them hope, or would it deepen wounds they still bore? When she finally spoke, her voice was steadier than she felt. We have no way to know what this can turn into. But I believe in the stories we share. Mia nodded, her posture relaxing slightly. We can show her, Claire. If she truly wants to listen, then let us let her in and find out. Rebecca's expression flickered between annoyance and intrigue, but Claire sensed a shift, something almost sincere. I want to start with identities, Claire suggested, heart pounding. Let us share our names and what brought us here. It's personal. It's real. Jenna spoke up first, her voice trembling yet resolute. I'm Jenna. I lost my job, my family fell apart, and I thought I had nowhere else to turn. Others chimed in, each sharing their own story, deepening connections that had previously flickered like distant fireflies. Claire could see them being stripped of fear and replaced by something raw and beautiful, a realization that they were not alone after all. When it came time for Rebecca, Claire held her breath. The room tensed, waiting for words that would either bolster their shared mission or shatter it. I'm Rebecca, she began, pausing as if grappling with vulnerability for the very first time. I've spent the last decade building walls around my life, success, money, status. She hesitated. But I think I've lost sight of what actually matters. I don't want to just throw resources at problems. I want to understand. Claire noticed shoulders relax as the weight of judgment eased. You're doing the first step, listening. That's important. The discussion unfolded like petals blooming in the sunlight, revealing dreams alongside despair, laughter amid tears. Claire felt her heartbeat steady, each shared experience unveiling deeper truths. The corners of the room, all the doubt and skepticism began to dissipate with every authentic moment. But just as brightness suffused the air, the scowling man, who had remained quiet, cleared his throat. What if this doesn't work? What's in it for us? Are we really prepared to trust her when she could just walk away? Rebecca's eyes darkened but remained fixed on the man. I'm here, aren't I? No one would believe my intentions if I walked away now. True, Mia chimed in, but we need to make sure that this isn't just your world getting a facelift. Our stories have real weight. Claire felt the tension twist again. It was true, this needed to be a genuine partnership. What if we set ground rules? Ground rules? Jenna echoed, raising her eyebrows. Like what? A commitment you must keep? Can we lay down trust without knowing the risks? Taking a deep breath, Claire felt her conviction surfacing again. Each of us should step outside our comfort zone. You offer your voice, Rebecca, but we reserve the right to speak back. This has to be a two-way street. Rebecca looked thoughtful, the steely facade softening. If that's the deal, then count me in. I'm glad to be challenged. I want to grow. The murmurs of acceptance began to rise, the air charged with possibility. Rebecca's gradual transformation from an outsider to a potentially great ally was unfolding right before Claire's eyes. But just as the energy in the room began to take flight, a loud bang echoed from the hallway. A figure burst through the door, eyes wild and frantic. The sudden interruption sent a jolt through the group. What was happening now? The figure that burst in was a young man, his shirt half-tucked and hair disheveled, as if he had just run a marathon. His face was flushed, and he looked as if he might cry or scream, perhaps both. Every eye in the room turned toward him, a mix of curiosity and concern swirling in the air. He stood there, panting heavily, searching the faces before him. Is anyone in here? I need help. His voice cracked, full of urgency, but it hung there awkwardly, cut by the tension that had just turned into something electric. Claire stepped forward, instinctively wanting to bridge the gap between their shock and his distress. "What's wrong? What do you need?" The man struggled to catch his breath, shaking his head slightly, trying to compose himself. "It's my sister," he finally blurted out. "She collapsed. She's outside. She can't breathe. I think it's serious." A wave of panic surged through the room. Claire felt her heart hammering, not just with fear, but with determination. "We need to go now." "Is she? Do you think she's okay?" "I don't know." His eyes darted, pleading for anyone to move. "Please! She needs help." "No one goes alone," Jenna declared, standing up as if her words had galvanized the others. Claire could see a transformation happening in the group, no longer just a collection of individuals, but a united front. Rebecca surprised them all by rushing over to the man. "Lead the way. I have a car. We can help." Claire felt fear mixing with gratitude. This wasn't the Rebecca they had met a moment ago. This was a woman stepping outside her comfort zone, showing she meant what she said about wanting to understand. Quickly, they followed the man out into the hallway, and he dashed ahead. Claire, next to Rebecca and the others, could hear the hurried footsteps echoing in a hallway that felt suddenly too long, not just physically, but emotionally. They were all carrying something heavy, each heart racing for more than just a physical crisis. This was a moment of testing trust, of proving their newfound connections. Outside, the sun blazed as they reached a small crowd gathered at the sidewalk. Claire's stomach dropped as she saw the girl, a teenager, crumpled on the pavement, pale and gasping for breath. "Call 911! Someone shouted from the group. Mia rushed to the girl's side, kneeling beside her and trying to soothe her pinched face. Claire looked up and caught Rebecca's eye. There was confusion, fear, and a little something else, an adrenaline that sparked excitement. As the sirens wailed in the distance, Claire felt overwhelmed, her mind racing with thoughts. What would happen next? Would they be able to save the girl? In this moment, they were more than just individuals sharing stories. They were a community forged by something greater, an emergency pulling them together in ways they had yet to understand. Then, amidst the chaos, Jenna caught Claire's gaze. "We're going to be okay, right?" Each word felt like a promise, a hope. Before Claire could respond, the sirens grew louder. The moment lay heavy, a passage into the unknown, where everything could change. Could they harness the bonds they were forming into something transformative? The answer felt just out of reach, waiting for them to grasp it. As the ambulance pulled up, Claire took a deep breath, knowing that everything was about to shift. But how? What lay beyond the boundaries of their fragile trust? The scream of the sirens faded as the ambulance lights flickered like angry fireflies against the midday sun. Claire's heart raced, each beat thudding against her ribcage as she observed the scene unfold with a mix of anxiety and hope. The paramedics jumped out, their movements swift and practiced. One of them rushed to the crumpled girl, quickly assessing her condition as Mia stayed close, whispering words of comfort. Claire watched as the medic's face changed, first focused, then alarmed. He motioned for another medic to bring a stretcher. "Stay back, please," one of them instructed the gathered crowd, her voice firm but calm. Something in Claire snapped. These were not just strangers around them, they were frightened people, desperate to help yet unsure of how to do so. "We need to create a space for them to work," she called out, her voice rising over the noise. Jenna and Rebecca exchanged glances, then moved to help clear the area. Soon, people began stepping away, retreating from their concern for the girl and the need to be part of the solution. Claire knelt down beside Mia. "How is she?" "I don't know," Mia replied, tears threatening to spill. "She looks so pale. I wish I could do more." A knot twisted in Claire's stomach, but she took Mia's hand. "You're doing everything you can. Talking to her matters." The moment felt surreal, time exchanging its usual flow for something heavier. Claire observed the girl's face, her breathing shallow and uncertain. A wave of determination washed over her. This was a moment, not just of crisis, but of connection. As the medics worked, the teen's brother hovered nearby, his hands clenching into fists, desperation etched into his features. Claire could see his worry was a physical thing, suffocating him in its grip. "We've got your sister," one of the medics assured him, not glancing up from her work. "We're going to get her through this." Minutes felt like hours as they waited, breaths held tightly. The tension pulsed in the air. Claire spotted Jenna looking back, her brow furrowed, an expression of shared concern. With each passing second, they stood at the edge of fear, each pulse a reminder of how fragile life could be. Finally, the medic checking the girl turned, subtly signaling to her partner. "Get her packaged up," she instructed, her voice steady. "We're ready to roll." As the stretcher emerged with the girl on it, the brother broke free and rushed to the side of the paramedics. "Is she okay?" His voice cracked, vulnerability surfacing in the panic. "She's stable for now. We're taking her to the hospital," the medic replied, leading them to the waiting ambulance. Claire's eyes followed them, filled with determination. It wasn't just about the physical rescue, it felt bigger. It was about the connections being made, friendships simmering just beneath the surface of their hurried gestures. The worry they all carried for this girl led them to bond together, not just as a group of acquaintances but as a community leaning into the unknown together. As the ambulance doors closed, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would be a turning point, not only for the girl but for all of them. "What do we do now?" Jenna asked, breath still shallow, the adrenaline starting to fade. "We wait and find a way to help." "This is just the beginning," Claire replied, feeling the weight of something greater forming within them, an underlying promise of shared purpose. But just as the reality of their new connection began to settle, Claire noticed someone moving among the crowd they were watching, studying them closely. A chill ran down her spine as she wondered who they were and what their intentions might be. As the crowd began to disperse, Claire felt something shift in the air. Whispers began to ripple through the group. What awaited them next might not only challenge their bonds but also unveil hidden truths they never anticipated. What could this unknown figure mean for their story? Claire couldn't shake the sense of unease as she watched the onlooker, a figure emerging from the crowd, seemingly detached and yet intensely focused on them. The warmth of the moment she shared with Mia and Jenna felt fragile, like a just-lit candle flickering against a sudden gust of wind. "What are we going to do?" she breathed, apprehension creeping into her voice. Mia squeezed her hand but didn't take her eyes off the stranger. Jenna stepped forward, her determination back in action. "Let us find out. We can't let our progress dissolve in fear." In that moment, Claire caught a glimpse of the resolve shining through Jenna's eyes. It filled her with courage. She wasn't just taking a stand for herself, she was part of a greater purpose, a journey towards redemption and reconciliation. Taking a deep breath, she ushered Mia and Jenna forward toward the figure. As they approached, the person stepped into the light, delicate features, wild hair, and a matching color of determination in their eyes. "I'm sorry for interrupting," the stranger spoke, their voice steady with an air of quiet authority. "I'm Lisa, and I've been watching you all." The crowd's curiosity intensified. This was no accidental appearance. Lisa glanced around at the cautious faces now turned toward her, already feeling the raw energy from their previous discussions. "I'm here because I believe in community," she said. "In healing and sharing. I've seen too much suffering around and I can help." A murmur swept through those gathered. It wasn't just any outsider. Lisa seemed to resonate with the fear and hope they all felt. "Help? How?" Claire asked, feeling the weight of several eyes upon her, her heart hammering. Was this another wealthy person looking to use their pain for personal gain? "I'm a therapist," Lisa explained, her expression earnest. "I specialize in community healing. I want to help you navigate through this transformation." Claire felt a rush of relief. Perhaps this was the ally they needed. "But how?" "We've just begun to realize our own stories, our own worth," Claire said, struggling to keep the urgency from her voice. "We start with workshops, places to share, to learn, and to rebuild trust," Lisa replied, eyes sparkling with determination. "Spaces where everyone is heard, no matter their past." There was a silence as what she said began to sink in. This wasn't just about fixing wounds but nurturing what had been neglected for far too long. Mia glanced at Claire, her eyes wide. "Do you think we can do this?" With newfound determination, Claire nodded. Yes. Let us start now. She turned back to the group, her voice clear and strong. If we all agree to take this step together, we can reclaim our narrative for the girl we just helped, for each other, for ourselves. The hesitation in the crowd began to thaw, replaced by murmurs of agreement. Shared hopes danced around them like fireflies in the night. In that moment, Rebecca stepped forward, seemingly transformed by the chaos, pulling the contours of her polished world and planting them into this newfound space. I'll lend resources for the workshops, she offered slowly, her eyes narrowing on the wary crowd. But I want to participate actively, no more looking from the sidelines. Lisa nodded thoughtfully, inviting their words. The community around them began to feel the spark of connection. It was more than just individual stories. It was a tapestry weaving their lives together into something beautiful, something stronger. And then, in a sudden roar, a wave of voices surged. People began sharing their pain, their struggles, the burdens they had carried for too long. Claire could see each flicker of courage built on every shared truth, pain transforming into healing, wounds exposing the potential for unity. Mia, tears glistening, breathed in deep and shared her intimate truth. Jenna followed, unraveling stories of hardships that connected them all. One by one, barriers began to break, walls crumbled, and faces lit up with hope. As laughter and tears mingled in the air, Claire felt her heart swell. Lisa stood in the background, guiding the conversation as if she were illuminating a path forward. And just like that, the once fractured community began to stitch itself back together, stitch by stitch, heart by heart. Claire closed her eyes for a moment, breathing in the energy surrounding her. This was at the moment of transformation. Rebuilding would take time, but they had decided to start. With a solid foundation of honesty and vulnerability forming, they could journey together into a future brightly lit by shared humanity. In that moment, Claire realized that they were not just healing one another, they were creating a legacy for everyone who felt unseen, a legacy that would ripple through the community in ways they couldn't yet fathom. Together, Claire whispered, raising her glass high above the noise, to transformation and healing. Hopeful cheers erupted, a mix of tears and laughter floating on the air. Their voices filled the room, strong and united. They had chosen connection over isolation, vulnerability over pride, and together, they would redefine an entire community. Now was the time to carry forward what they stood for, and Claire knew this was just the beginning. Join this journey for change, and if you love what you see, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and let us know you want more. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending, and show your support. And please share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share, it matters.